I'm over here for a quick romp on a Sunday afternoon at the Brooklyn Museum. It's raining, and I got restless today and just said, hey, maybe I should go over, catch the show. Amy Creemore's been asking me to come. I've been thinking I want to come, so. And it's not much happening around here today. It's a quiet day, so I think I'll come. So here's the Brooklyn Museum. Oops. Come on. Let me shut this thing off. And I've always wanted to keep on thinking about this painting, although I think it's pretty campy myself. I know I've heard people that know the artist. He sells a lot in China. I can't honestly say. I think it's, if we get closer up, well, it's okay. You know, it's a little campy. We'll see. I'm going to shut this thing off. Come on. It's weird. It's not shutting off now. Okay, do I have to shut the goddamn thing off to get it off? Yeah, this painting actually I like a lot. It's Paul Klepp. It's untitled, and I think it's a pair. I guess you can kind of see how much it's raining out. It's kind of cool being here when it's raining and nobody's. Well, I'm supposed to not take pictures once I get into the thing, but so I think that I'm probably going to be asked to not take pictures. So I'm not really sure what I'm looking at here. But this is the beginning of the opening of going to the Murkami. Well, it looks like I see people taking pictures, so I'm in the Murkami exhibition. I don't want to be told I can't take pictures, but I don't know, this guy's kind of like into flatness, and I don't know. It honestly isn't my kind of thing, but it looks pretty interesting, but probably this isn't my scene. It looks kind of like a toy, but okay, granted. It has value, but I mean, clearly our different tradition than what I'm used to. And this is, again, I really don't get much from these kind of pieces because there's no real emotional attachment for me. Now, in other words, it's probably a cultural thing because maybe the stuff is great and it looks so interesting, but for me, there's no real emotional connection to most of this stuff. So I look at it, to me, this could just be wrapping paper, even though maybe it does pop a little bit. I honestly just don't find that I want to engage with it because it looks too processed for me. But that's just me. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that think this stuff is great. And some of these offer me a little bit more. Although, honestly, this would be better for me if I had some context from which to look at it at. Again, I think these are nice, but it's somewhat problematic to get this processed in your approach because it looks to me like it could be a mat for all I know. I mean, what's more impressive to me would be if the colors really did something special. And I'm not sure. I see there's a difference in the flatness and the texture of this middle panel versus the other ones. I see a deliberateness there. But I really don't know about this stuff. I see a lot of interesting things going on over here. In a way, I'd almost say that these panels would have been better if they were separated. They don't really work together for me, but they work as separate panels, perhaps better. Again, it's hard for me to take this kind of work seriously, although I guess if you could take it as seriously as an Andy Warhol painting. You know, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't talk, but I just don't. Interestingly, these are actually a little better for me, perhaps because they have texture, whereas the later stuff seems to be less painterly for me. At least these I can actually smell the paint, so it seems to me like he was. This room is kind of really a little bit too much for me. This looks like Candyland, if you ask me. I think The Oriental taste must be, and yet there's some pretty interesting stuff going on here, like a figure ground thing, but overall I feel a little overwhelmed by this work. It's too much for me. It's clearly not my sensibility. Actually, I find this stuff overpowering. Or maybe it was the banana I ate before I came over here. Either I'm getting heartburn from that, or this stuff is giving me heartburn and spacing me out. But I'm finding this stuff is a little bit too much for me. It's just not my sensibility, but I recognize it's good. Some of the later paintings are pretty amazing. I guess this now, in context of the rest of the show of Muktami that I saw, makes a lot more sense. Interesting. Well, now I'm looking at the Prospect Park and just the sky here. I think I'll talk a little bit about the show as I, get out of this frame of looking at work. Let me just get this to be as far as possible. Okay. And I don't really know exactly if I'm focusing on the right part of me, so I'll go back and I think that when I go to museums and see shows like the Muktami show, I feel sort of really uncomfortable with both the prospect of the artist being on display and kind of almost worshipped as a personality, and the work itself is being really good but very processed. Like, I found that individual parts where he painted the colors were really nice. I mean, and some of the pieces were fantastic, almost overpowering for me. I felt that there was clearly some sexual references to some of the stuff that were kind of interesting in some ways, but a little bit hard to take in other ways. And clearly I'm confronted with a sensibility that's not my own. And I don't know exactly what to make of it. So what I'll say is that I'm glad I got to see it, and that there's a lot of stuff out there. Not necessarily everything I see do I like, but that doesn't necessarily make it good or bad. Clearly, a lot of other people really think this stuff is good, and it was masterfully done. And it's just the culture is much different for me, and I'm having a hard time maybe assessing the whole Japanese anime thing. It's just maybe their idea of throwing it all together, low and high, and just, it's a little different than what I'm used to. Maybe it's good, and I don't know, but it seemed like a lot of the paintings really look like big pieces of decorative paper. But that's not to say there's anything wrong with that. It's just that it's not something I would have done, but that's not necessarily to say that maybe it's something I wanted to do and I just never could. I don't know. But anyway, that was the show, and it's a little raining here, but it's kind of nice in Brooklyn. And that's it for today. No more. All right. I guess it's the end of my walk, and I'm almost home. I had dinner, but I saw these flowers, and I felt like I had to see how to take the dew off of them and just wipe them on my face, because it just feels like it's rained and it's poured. But sometimes I see this stuff, and I kind of feel like if I wanted to just sit here and draw them today, I could almost get into that. But I'm not going to. I feel that it's enough that I can see this stuff and appreciate it, and that, I don't have to be in Big Sur somewhere, that there's beauty everywhere, even here in Brooklyn, especially here in Brooklyn. Just like we saw the museum. There's all kinds of stuff happening wherever you are. No matter where you are, there's something extraordinarily beautiful right here. I can't turn this off. Damn.